Hey all, so here are the two solos that I said I was going to do. Um, they are definitely not unique at this point, but I did get some requests for them, so I'm going to go ahead and go over them and their commentary. Before you do anything else, if you have not watched Spinnaker Three's solo of this particular Adaptoid with his Mojo, go and check that out because he is the Mojo guru and he's who taught me how to handle this fight properly. This is basically to show you some things that I learned from having this fight take much, much longer due to the fact that I was using an unduped rank 1 6 star. And I believe this is actually with a 10% boost. This tells you how bad it is. Now, first off, that end a buff one can make you panic. Like that might be, you might be tempted to parry and then hit them real quick to get rid of your dex buff, because then that would satisfy the prompt. Resist doing that because you are going to need your stuns for something else, and I'll get to that in a second. So I would instead recommend what I did there and just wait for the power gain to finish, because almost no matter where that end a buff one comes up, you're going to have time to wait out a power gain buff, and then it's done. Similarly, for hold block, I do recommend hitting into his block if he lets you, but if he doesn't, you're going to be healing enough in this fight that you can afford at least a few combos into your block, as long as he's not in one of his modes where he's a little more heavy happy. Idle I found a little trickier, but honestly exactly what just happened there was one of the best. Um, you could either dodge a special and then just wait, and you normally had enough time. Or I think I forget if it's in this attempt or in another one, but there was one spot where I just parried and then backed off and waited and got the idle prompt that way. The only one that I think that you really want to avoid at all costs is punish a special. Because if you are seeing that prompt, then that means that your anti-life field is not up, and that means that the unstoppable will be its full 8 seconds and change, and therefore you're not going to be able to safely punish the special. This is actually what caused me to have most of my problems early on. Um, but I watched Spinnaker's video and remembered what Mojo's Heavy does, which is that it cycles prompts if you don't like the one you have. And that's why I was saying hold on to your parries. Because if you, like me, are using an unduped Mojo to double dip and get both the medal and the extra large villain points for this, if you're using an unduped Mojo or a low rank Mojo, then this one is going to take a while. And so you are going to need to have those stuns in your back pocket and have them be long enough to safely land a heavy. Now, you also saw when I made the mistake of throwing a special too close to the end of the anti-life field and therefore had almost no power, and then I got knocked down a champion. I should not have done that, because if I had just waited, I would have had my special and would have been able to easily knock him down. Because I didn't do that, I had to heavy counter. I don't recommend doing that if you don't have to, because the window is actually kind of tight, and in one of my early attempts, I was just a hair late and he actually threw a special in my face. And that's not a very fun way to end an attempt. But if you are fast enough, and it's the only way to avoid losing some followers, because I was still fairly early in my ramp up at that point, then you can counter his heavy with your heavy and safely knock him down. You could also use that to cycle the prompts, but I don't think you want to be relying on it, which is why I said hold on to your stuns. So as you can see, even though we're up to 15, I think it's 15 million followers is the term, now 16, even though we're all the way up there, because Mojo isn't duped, he's not getting that Fury. And so even with I think it's a 20%, no, sorry, this is with a 10% boost. Even with a 10% champion boost on, I'm still only doing 133 per tick per degen, which is a slow way to get through this fight. but that's the tool I have. So I think that if you do those few things I talked about and basically just leave yourself those uh-oh buttons in the case of stuns that actually do something, then I think you'll be okay. This was a tricky fight, and we're already over 200 hits here. Most of the duped Mojo solos I'm seeing are closer to in the realm of like 80 to 120, depending on rarity and sig level. So you can tell it takes longer, but it is still a really good option. And personally, I preferred doing this to trying to make some other metal option work, and then to also make a separate extra large villain like Kingpin work. But if you enjoy those solos, because there are a lot of models on YouTube now of pretty much all of them, then go for it, and you don't have to deal with Mojo. See, there, right there is what I was talking about. We got a punish a special attack, but because we'd been playing it stun immune pretty much all the way up until this point, we were able to just parry, throw a heavy, no problem. If we'd been stunning him all the time to get our openings and trying to avoid block damage, that could have been ugly, because we wouldn't have had that, and we would have lost some progress. And if that happens a few times, now you're not doing as much degen anymore. So then on to Magik. The plan here, because there's basically no way with what you have available to you in this fight, there's no way to get to your special 2 before he gets to a bar of power. The plan is to let Mystic Dispersion do our work for us. I'm trying to back him up here to avoid getting cornered, but there. We got Mystic Dispersion once. I run 5 points in it off of the first Unstoppable, and that gave us enough power that we were able to push to our special 2 and power lock him before the next one. Now he did still have one more, but see, there's Mystic Dispersion again. That would have been a great place to throw it if he had charged. That's okay. We're just going to wait it out. We're blocking as much as we can. We used Limbo on that last one to actually heal up. I know he's probably going to gain another bar of power. This first part is the hardest, but that's what I was building towards. I just needed him to not be unstoppable, and I was able to dash back with 2 bars of power. Luckily, there's actually no danger of going red. The Special Lock 2 helps Magik quite a bit. But I was able to dash back with 2 bars of power and throw my special into his face. And now this fight, while not under control because it's going to be long and there are going to be plenty of opportunities to die, it's at least set up now. I do backdraft a lot here, and I go for the corner kick. I do not have the timing 100% down on him for that, but I still go for it because even if I don't land it, I end up hitting into his block, and then if I block immediately, you'll see throughout here he often throws his heavy, and that gives me the opening I need without relying on parry stuns. Now, there's really nothing in particular that happens to you if you run out of viable stuns with Magik in this fight. It's not like Mojo where all of a sudden something can go wrong. It's just that I like to have those in my back pocket as a safety. So I'm trying to find other ways. See, there I had to go for a slightly different kind of backdraft intercept, but what I'm going for here is just changing it up. Because in my experience, this moveset, the Iron Man moveset, will eventually mess with you on a backdraft if you just keep doing that and only that. Eventually, it will go, you know what, I'm tired of getting hit in the face. It will idle forward and light attack you as you charge. And that's against somebody as fragile as Magik, that can often end the fight. But as long as we mix it up, it stays pretty safe. See right there, I hit into his block, blocked, he threw a heavy, was able to safely counter. You're also going to see, although it doesn't line up too much in this fight, when I have Limbo, I am going to rely on it. If he hits into my block, I'm going to take those hits because recovery will actually mean I heal back more than I take, and it'll end up healing me. Now, I would have had, likely, more Limbo throughout this fight if I had started doing something that I start doing towards the end of the fight earlier, and that is accepting that I pretty much did have the rhythm of the fight under control at this point, And so I should have just kind of calmed down, and every time I got to my second bar of power, not just before the power lock ended, but while I knew he wasn't about to cross a bar of power, so either from me hitting him or because his power gain buff was about to cycle back, as long as I knew that neither of those were going to happen, then I should have sat on the special 2 for a little longer. And that's not even just because of the willpower healing from the power lock debuff. That helps, but the real reason is what you see right there. If you're able to push him higher before you power lock him, then you'll steal more of his power, and you're that much closer to your next bar of power. You're also that much closer to the next time that you may be able to proc Limbo, and therefore be able to heal from block damage. So see there, we fell out of our rhythm a little bit, but that's okay because we have plenty of health left. The fight is almost over, and we're just going to repeat how we got this under control in the first place. Step back special, use Limbo to regen a little bit. We're right back into this. And at that point, I felt safe parrying because I know that we're close enough to the end of the fight that I shouldn't run out. I'm still going to, use backdrafts here, but I'm intentionally being a little more careful because I know it's almost over. A crit there would have been nice. At times like this, I really miss being able to bring the Warlock or Morningstar synergies, but she still gets the job done. And this was also without double edge and recoil. Magik can actually run max recoil as well as double edge and heal from every single special. It works really great for her. I just chose not to do that because that would have meant, about 100 units in mastery changes rather than just getting a solo with what I already had. But if you're having trouble, then that can definitely be something to try. Anyway, I hope everyone is doing well. Your attempts at solos are turning into successes at solos, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, all.